Hey, good afternoon, everyone. This is Tata Subramaniam here, and I am today going to walk you through the Power BI basics. So basically, this is going to be an introduction of Power BI, and I will walk you through right from the installation of Power BI towards making of a dashboard, connecting the data to a Power BI, and making of the reports. All right. So now the question is, why Power BI and why we use it? Before I start about Power BI and everything, let me give a brief introduction about myself. My name is Tata Subramanian. Yes, the name is Tata. And I am a data analytics trainer by profession. And I have over 6 years of experience in corporate. So I have learned all this while working on projects and also doing different courses. And what I've seen is that it's better to see a course where you can learn step by step through a process and then apply it in your own projects. So I strongly recommend you to see this video and apply by doing your own projects or with the sample data set that I have over here. You can find the sample data set anywhere over the websites as well, other websites like Kaggle and DataCamp. I will also mention those links in my channel as well. So what are we going to deal before I jump into the world of Power BI and data visualization? Things that we cover as we go through this video. Okay, so let's begin. What are we waiting for? So Microsoft Power BI is one of the data visualization tools which are present in the market. It's one of the popular tools which are there. Now in the world of data analytics, I have, let's say, a data which is related to Global Superstore. We all have data present either in Excel, either in the databases, or in many other different types of files. So here, if you see, my data is present in text and columns, which is like this data set has order date, ship date, row ID, and many other data items. So what do you make of this data when you just look at it? It's not easy to make anything meaningful out of this, right? That is because we are not used to seeing just the numbers in text or just in numbers in black and white. We are used to seeing the numbers in patterns, in charts. That is how humans perceive. Because when you look at anything, you try to find patterns in the data. That's how our mind works. So when you look at this data, of course, some pattern you would find. For example, there is a lot of central values which are present, for example. There's a lot of values entry in EU. And similarly, you can find many other things. For example, this order ID is in the pattern of probably the name of the region, ES, the year, and the order number. So there are many such patterns. To find more detailed patterns, like which country has the highest sales, or which city has the lowest sales, or which customer has purchased the maximum number of products. To do this, we require certain charts and graphs. Now, I could have built these charts in Excel as well, but the limitations of Excel is are there, which we will probably discuss in a probably later video. But to give you a short observation, tools like Excel are useful for data cleaning and also to do some basic sort of analysis like using of VLOOKUP. But when you want to build a visualization, you need a visualization tool like a Power BI or Tableau or any other tool. So with that premise, we will now go into the usage of Power BI. So the why part is understood. Let's also deal deep into why Power BI. So Microsoft Power BI has been there since 2011. It was Project Crescent before that. And it has been a very popular tool amongst all the, people. The why it is so popular, it is because this tool is very easy to use. So if I just click on this new report over here, it is a very user-friendly tool And initially you might get intimidated, but if you see, it is very much similar to the layout of how it is there in Excel. So if you see home, insert, modeling, there, these tabs are all present in the Excel as well. And that is where the Power BI layout is also very similar. And the beautiful part about Power BI is that you can easily create any charts by just selecting on it and then do it. We'll see also how to do it, but just giving you an overview of why this tool is so popular. And it is free to use. So Power BI Desktop is a free version and you can just install it and use it at your convenience. That is the beautiful part and best part about it. So now let's go to the installation part as to how to install this. So for this, you have to search Microsoft Power BI. So I'm just simply searching Power BI over here. And you will get this Power BI data visualization, which is present over here. You click on this Power BI data visualization. Now you'll get a lot of things over here. So instead of going everywhere about how to go for this, just select on products, Power BI Desktop. And then click on this download free option. I will also paste this link onto the channel description so that you can directly click on this link and then go for it. Once you click on download free, it will redirect you to the Microsoft Play Store because it is asking me to open here. And there you will install the Microsoft Power BI Desktop. So mine is already installed, but if in your case, you might not have installed it. So here install option will come and then you can install it. So this is how the installation part is there. So once you have installed it, just do all the agree terms and conditions and everything, and your Power BI Desktop will be ready to use. All right. So this is with respect to the installation of Power BI. Now comes the settings that you need to modify. So here, if you see, you have this file and options. Now, why I'm showing these settings? Because for you, some of these settings might not be enabled. So here, if I go to the options and settings, it will just open in a while. You have this global settings and you have this current file settings. So global settings means whenever you open any report in Power BI, all the settings will be applied. Whereas current file means the file which I've opened now, it will apply to that file only. So if you see here, first of all, enable this map and field map visuals because this will allow you to see the usage of the maps which is present over here. Then you have the preview features and enable all these aspects which is there because this will allow you to see new features which are present in Power BI, and as and when whatever you want to see, it will get enabled. So just take all these options and you will be able to see all the new features which are present. This is very important, the report settings. So if you enable all these options, okay, because this will allow you to easily see the options that you want to see over here. So pane switcher, format pane, don't worry about these terms. Just take all these terms and you will have a very smooth experience when using the Power BI for the first time. As and when we will see throughout this video, if we get stuck somewhere and if one option is not there, we can see by how to enable those options. So this is all that is to it. And once you have installed it, you will get this first tab, which is present over here, which is this part. Even before this, if I close this part over here, I'm going to open it again for you. It takes a little bit of time to open, but that is completely fine. So once this is opened, you will get an option of new report. And once the new report is opened, then you will be able to create a new visualization. It will just get opened in a while. So as you can see, these are my existing files which are here. And this is the new report that I'm going to use. So once I click on this new report, I will get to the layout, which I shown you earlier. Now let's understand this layout as to what all the things which are present. I will touch upon the important things which are there. So if you can see in the new layout of Power BI, you will see this chart visuals over here on the rectangle which I'm hovering over my mouse. And this is the traditional view where the build a visual icon is there. So I have enabled in both ways. You can use for whichever way you want. So this is where you can select a new chart and create your visualization. This is the part where you connect the data. Import data from Excel, import data from SQL Server or any other data. You can click on this part as well, or you can click on get data. So the moment I click on get data, I will be able to access different data sources that I need to connect. So here my objective is, I want to find out the insights from a data set which is called as Global Superstore. Again, I reiterate, this data set is freely available on the internet. You can just search for Global Superstore and you will be able to get it. And the very first thing that you need to do is connect the data. Now, before I go to the connect data part, let me explain you a very common concept which is used in the data analytics world, and that is called as the ETL process. So ETL refers to extract, transform, and load. So ETL is extract, transform, and load. So extracting means basically you are extracting data. From where you are extracting the data. So here we have already extracted the data, that is the Global Superstore, onto an Excel sheet. In reality, how this would have worked is, when a customer is making any purchase on a POS, which is the point of sales, the order details would have captured. Okay, it would have been captured onto the POS and it would have stored in a database. And from that database, we have got it through Excel. So that is how in real time, in real life, or in practical aspects, the data gets stored. So that is the extract part. Now, extract can be other things also. So for example, I have this web scraping method. I can scrape the data from the web. And there are many tools to get to the data. We can build a database by getting the data from different sources. So that also comes under extract part. So it can be anything. It can be many things actually. So that is how all these aspects are combined together. So that is the extract part. The next part is the transform part. Transformation part relates to cleaning and modifying the data. So forgive my English. So it is related to modifying and cleaning the data. So many times your data is not the way that you want it. The structure of the data is not proper, and that is why you modify the data. So this is respect to modifying the data. We will discuss more in detail about transforming, but one of the examples can be separating numbers from text. One of the examples. So let's say you have a number and a text and you want to separate them. So that comes under cleaning and modifying the data. The final part is, once you have done this cleaning part, you load the data into the tool, which is here the Power BI or any other tool. So here I am saying the database tool. It can be anything. Then after this, you analyze the report. Analyze, create report. So as you can see, before creating the visualization, there are a lot of steps that you need to do. And many times you actually go back and forth between the data to go back and forth between the steps to do. Although this is sequential, but that does not mean that your after loading part, your transformation data step stops completely. You might have to revisit this step. Suppose if there is a change in the data structure. or you have to go to the extract again if the data source for some reason has gone down, or you have to extract a new set of data, or you have to replace the existing data source. So there can be so many scenarios. So this is the ETL process. Now, where does this ETL process sits onto the Power BI world? So Power BI does your transformation part and loading part as well. Extract part also it does in a some sort of manner. For example, extracting data from a website. So that basic part it can do. Otherwise, we have more sophisticated tools and we can run also a Python scripts to extract the data. So that's again another advantage of using Power BI, of doing ETL process within the one range of tools. So now we will go to the Power BI desktop layout. So this is my layout and I want to import the data into Excel. There are multiple ways of getting the data. So we will go with the first basic getting of the data, which is through import method. There are other methods also, but right now I don't want to confuse you with those terms. Just understand that I am going to use the import method to get the data from the data source. The data source is what? The data source is the Excel. So I click on this option and then I will go to the desktop and I will click on this global superstore and select open. So while this connection gets established, you will get a preview window like this. So I'm going to select the employees, the orders, and the returns. Remember that all these tables or the sheets are present in the Excel file, and it just directly takes those tables over here, and then it is showing you onto the preview page. So this is navigator or the preview page that you can say. And you have here two options that you can do. So one is you can load the data directly into the system, or you can click on transform data. The transform data will take you to a new window, which is the Power Query editor. Your load data will directly load it into the system. But even if you load it, you can still go back to the transform data. So there is no problem with that. So let's say I click on the load option. So I have clicked on the load and the data will directly get loaded. Remember the option, the extract, transform, load, where we have discussed those details. So these are the details that we have done. So extract, transform, load means we have directly loaded the data into the system. So this will take a little bit of time as it builds the model and everything. So it has detected all these relationships and it has loaded the data. Now you have 4 panes which are present in Power BI. The most common and the most important ones are the report view, the table view, and the model view. These are the 3 important things that you require. Whereas here, which is the DAX query view, this is an optional view and a new feature which is there in Power BI. This is basically where you can write the queries and you can use it. So now, this is where the DAX query you can write in form of SQL. Again, we are not touching this topic for now. For now, understand these 3 views, which are very important. Now you have the model view. Now in the model view, you can see that I have this employees table, orders table, and returns table. But something is not correct over here. I can see column 1 and column 2 only. And in returns also the same thing. On the orders table, I can see all the column names which are present over here. So what could be the problem? So the problem lies here in the transformation of the data. So if I click on this transform data, I will be able to understand what has happened. Remember that I could have done this transform data in the previous step as well, but I am doing the transform data here. So just to make you aware of how you can do this. So you can click transform data on any one of the views here and you will be able to get through the home tab. So home tab, click on transform data and you will be taken to the Power Query editor. Now in this Power Query editor, I can see the three tables. Remember, I loaded those three tables. And this is where I can see all the three details over here. Now you should see why the column 1 and column 2 is showing. Because it is there on the headers. You see my headers had to be name and region. But instead of that, I have this column 1 and column 2 as headers. And that is where all this problem is coming. Because it is loading this headers as column 1 and column 2. So how to resolve this problem? There's a very simple step in Power Query, which is using first row as headers. The moment you click on this, it will automatically transform the first row as headers, and you got the name and region. And the same step I'm going to repeat for returns as well. So use row as headers, use first row as headers, click on that, and you will be able to get this option. Now, if you see, this is the Power Query editor, which is part of Excel and it's a part of Microsoft. And that is why this is integrated with Power BI. And that is why it makes the Power BI tool so powerful, because Power BI can not only be used for visualization, but also for data cleaning and data transformation. And if you see, this is the Power Query layout. You can see the tables, or we call it as queries over here. And you can see the steps that is being generated. So if you see, when I used the employees one, the employees table, and when I clicked on this use first row as headers, there is a table, there is a step that has formed. And then it has automatically inserted another step, which is changing the data type. So every step that you do, every transformation that you do gets recorded as a step here. And this is very, very useful, because whenever you load this table next time, or whenever you refresh the data source, you don't need to repeat the steps again. Power BI will automatically do these steps. So that is the Power Query will automatically do the steps for you. So that is the powerful nature of Power Query. So you have all these tables which are present over here. And this is a very, very simple way of transforming the data. So we have done our first transformation. Congratulations. And there is nothing else to be done at the moment, because this data is highly structured. So we will do some data transformation probably in the next video. For now, just understand that if all my data types are in proper shape, if all my data, if there is no null values, or if there is no mismatch of data type, I am good to go. So here I can see all this data is structured, and I don't have to worry about data transformation at this moment. So I click on close and apply. Very important, because you have to apply these changes into the Power BI that you're getting to load. Remember, I loaded that earlier. Now I'm loading it again with the changes. So I click on close and apply. So the changes is going to get reflected here. And now you see, if I go to the model view again, I can see the name of the columns. And also, I can see a relationship established between the two, which is employees and orders. We'll talk about relationships in depth probably in some other video, but for now, understand that relationship is nothing but combining the two tables where a common column is there. So here the common column between the two is the region. So based on the region, it has identified this common relationship. And this is one-to-many relationship. So one-to-many relationship means that my region column has unique values in employees table, and the values of region in orders table are repeated. And that is why it is one-to-many relationship. So that is the fundamentals of one-to-many, where your unique values are mapped to many values of the same column. And that is how this relationship is done. Why this value is repeated over here? Because multiple orders can be from the same region, right? And that is why I have multiple values of region. here I have a unique values of region. You can see in the table view as well. Now, why not a relationship? Why a relationship is not established between returns and orders? Now, because this could be one of the reasons is because even though I have a common column of order ID between the two, but since order ID is repeated in returns table and order ID is repeated in orders table, because the same customer can have multiple orders or there can be multiple orders for the same product. So that is why the many-to-many relationship Power BI generally does not recommend because of the data duplication. And that is why it has not automatically detected. You can automatically create a relationship by just dragging over here and you can do that. In fact, if I delete this relationship, I click on this delete, I can establish a relationship by just dragging the region onto the region column, which is present over here. Now, this is important. So you have to drag this region onto the region over here. So that's it. Your relationship is done and you have established a relationship between employees and orders. For now, we'll ignore this orders and returns ka relationships. Now I'll go to the table view. In table view, I can basically create a new table or a new column. And also I can see how the different tables are present in this. In model view, I can see how these tables are related to each other. And in report view is where I'm going to create the visualization. So here I have come onto this view, which is the report view. Now let's try to understand how this view is presented. So this white portion is where you're going to build all your visualizations. So your dashboard and report are all going to be there in this view. This is the page where you can create a single report, or if I click on plus option, I can create multiple reports. For now, I am going to delete this page. And you can see that there are different layouts over here. The build a visual is there, text box is there. We will see as we build through the data. One important aspect is if you cannot see this data, build a visual and format pane onto the right side, just click on this plus option and you can enable the options over here. If this option is not there, which is the customize pane switcher, then you have to enable this always show pane switcher under view option. So under view option, you can show this pane switcher and then do that. Earlier, we discussed about enabling these settings. So in order for the settings to get reflected, you have to close this Power BI and restart it. And then all your settings would get applied. All right. So with that, now we will click on this data option. Now data option is the one where all my tables and its column details are present. So I can see employees table, I can see orders table, and finally I can see the returns. Now let's try to understand what this tool actually represents. Correct? What this data set actually represents, pardon. Global Superstore is nothing but all the orders which the customer has purchased. All those order details are tracked. It is nothing but if you go to any Kirana store nearby, you purchase any items, your order details are also captured somewhere over there. So it is a replica of that data. Now, what all you can do when you go to a Kirana store, you purchase a product. Now, what all details I can capture as a data provider or as a supermarket? I can capture your name. I can capture your last name. I can capture the product ID. I can capture the cost price. I can capture the selling price. I can capture from where you have purchased the product, which region, and so on and so forth. So all these details are captured over here. So I have defined the category, city, country, customer ID, and all these aspects. So now I have different data points which are there. But what to make of this data? What insights I can get out of this data? It is all blank for me at the moment. But soon I will get a clear picture the moment I create visualizations. So my objective is, it's a very open objective at this moment. My objective is to create a report so that I can present to the stakeholders. And so that when they see this report, they are able to make a decision about how to go on with the business. So that is the objective as a data analyst, or even if you are doing any personal project. Okay, so my objective is to make a good dashboard with appropriate metrics to track, and then we will proceed accordingly. So now I have the data and I have the visualization which is present over here. Now let's start with it. There are many visualizations which are present over here. The very first step I want to do is I want to give it this report a title. So I go to this text box and I select on the text box and I'm going to write Global Superstore. Global Superstore report. Pardon my spelling. I'm just writing this report. I'm going to resize this for the appropriate size over here. Center align this. And I'm going to expand this text box. I'm going to close this one. A simple text box that you have created. Okay, so this is the title that you have selected. The next part I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a chart. I'm going to start with a stacked bar chart, which is a very basic bar chart that we can create. And I'm going to select a chart. So here I'm going to calculate basically the country-wise sales. So I want to know which country has how many sales. Or maybe I can do something else. Maybe I can do the region-wise sales. Since I have a lot of countries in the data set, let me search for region. So region is present over here. And let me search for sales. So if you understand, I have just ticked onto the required dimension and measures, and Power BI automatically put them into the required axis. So since it's a horizontal bar chart, or you can say simple bar chart, on your x-axis is the measure, that is a numerical value. On the y-axis, you have the dimension, which is the categorical variable or a categorical field. So here I can see the region and I can see region-wise sales. So I can clearly see that Central has the maximum sales and West has the least amount of sales. If I hover over here, I can see the sum of sales as well. If I click on this format option, I want to enable the data labels because I want to see how much sales have been done for each region without hovering over here. And the moment I click it, I will be able to see the required data. So it just took a couple of clicks for you to create such a simple and a powerful visualization. Region-wise sales. So you got this region-wise sales over here. Now, there is other aspect that I want to do. I want to clean this data a little bit. So probably I can make this data look more attractive, or I can just keep it as it is, whichever way we can do. So let's make this data more attractive. Okay, so what we will do is I'm going to click on this data set onto the chart, and I can click on the format over here, or I can click on the format over here, which is this. I'm going to click on this option and let me see what I can do with this. So the first thing I can do is sum of sales by region. I don't need to require the sum of sales by region. It is earlier understood. So I will rename this chart as region sales. So I have this region sales over here. Sorry. And you can just center align this, make it bold. So you can do all these things over here. So region-wise sales, I have renamed it. Now the next thing I will do here is probably I can change the color of this dashboard. the color of the bars. So for that, I can go to the bars and I can change the color. So probably I can make it a little bit orange, and I got this one. Now on the x-axis and y-axis, I can mention the sum of sales or region. If you want to change anything, then you have to go over here for the x-axis and y-axis, and then you can change it accordingly. So for now, I think this is fine. The next part I'm going to do is I'm going to create another chart, which is basically I want to see the trend of sales over the years. So over the years, whether my sales has increased or decreased. So I can do one handy trick. If you want to preserve any formatting from the previous table and you don't want to do it again, just simply copy paste it. So Control C and Control V. So you will get the new chart. And I'm going to change this to a line chart. Now this does not make sense because a line chart requires a time-based variable. And for this, I'm going to select on build a visual. Now in build a visual, I can see on the x-axis have region, y-axis sum of sales. So here, instead of region onto the x-axis, I'm going to put basically the order date. So the moment I've put order date and one y-axis sum of sales, I have got something like this. So here, basically, this is a date hierarchy which Power BI has created. So that is why you have year, quarter, month, and day. And that is why it is showing at the deepest level of data. So all I can do is I can click on this upward drill, and this will go from this will go to a higher level of data. So now I can see the month and the year over here. Right. If I go further, now I have the month and the year-wise data, which is the quarters. So the quarter-wise data, and now I have the year-wise data. So if I click on this upward arrow, now you can see the year-wise data. You could have also eliminated this, but I usually prefer this option because it is easier for me to drill down on the data. So if you click on this next level in the hierarchy, I will go to the quarter level because that is the next level. And then I can go, if I click on further, I will go at the month level and then I will go at the day level. So now if I click on drill up, I'm going to click there. I will reach back to my original state. So I wanted this basically the sum of sales, and I got the trend for the sum for the sales of all the years. Now my question is, I want to see that how each one of the segments which is present, there is a segment column which is there, how the segment has fared over each one of these years. So for this, I'm going to put segment onto legend. Now this is a very important and a beautiful visual where you can see how each segment, the consumer, the corporate, and the home office have performed over the years. So that is your segment-wise trend for each one of for over the years. So we have created a bar chart, we have created a line chart. Now the next chart I'm going to create is basically a simple donut chart. So a donut chart is basically used to calculate what is the percentage share between the different categories. So I want to understand there are multiple ways of transporting the data, transporting the goods and orders. So I have this option which is called as the ship mode. So what kind of ship mode is there? So what kind of ship modes are there? Which ship mode is present is usually preferred mode? So is it via rail? Is it via, the transport? Is it via aeroplane? Is it via ship? There are multiple modes of transportation. So I want to understand how much products, how many products, in fact, or you can say what all the sales of the products that has been done for each one of the ship modes. So I can go for maybe the number of basically the products which are being shipped across each categories. Let's try to find that. So I'm going to select on ship mode, and on values, I'm going to select the product ID. So let me go to the product ID and I'm going to take for values over here. So you can see Power BI has automatically counted the product IDs. And if I click on this option, I can use count distinct or count. Count distinct will count the unique values of the products. So I'm selecting count distinct. So it will calculate the unique products that has been shipped. So repeated values are ignored. So whenever you build a chart, you will see this under the option of build a visual, the different categories where you can put the data. If you simply take on this, Power BI automatically identifies it, or you can manually put over legend and over values. So legend is this ship mode and values are over here. So values are the count of the number of products. So I can simply see that standard class has a higher share compared to other three parts which are present over here. Okay. Now with respect to the formatting, if I can see the values over here, usually I don't require this tooltip. So you can simply switch off the tooltip in the format pane when you go over here. So the moment I come over here, I can simply switch off the required items and then you can do that. For now, let's keep it out, but it is not required. So I got the count of product ID by ship mode. One mistake I made is I could have copied it and I could have easily, got the formatting, but that's okay. I'm just saying number of products shipped. Going to make it bold, horizontal aligned. I got this chart. Okay. So we have created 4 charts and now we are going to create one more chart. Now this is going to be basically a simple scatter plot. A scatter plot is something which contains 2 measures and a 1 dimension to measure against the measure. So here, if I select this scatter plot and I want to, let's say I want to see what is the country-wise sales and profit for that particular country. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to select profit and I'm going to select sales. So automatically profit has come onto the x-axis, sales onto y-axis. You can swap this as and when you want. And you can see there is one single value which is present. This is because there is no dimension against which I'm measuring right now. So it is calculating the sum of all sales and sum of all profit and it has given you 1 point. Now I can select country because I wanted to calculate the country-wise sales and profit. And it has gone under values. So now you can see the country-wise sales and profit which are present. And I have calculated this. Now, as usual, I can format this basically by, let's say I want to change the way these markers are present. So I can put this border only. And I can increase the size. Basically, I can increase this size to a little bit, but this is an optional thing that you can do. And you can change the color as well. So I will prefer this color to be here, or probably a little darker shade of orange. And there are many settings that are present over here. And as usual, I'm going to rename the chart type. Country-wise sales and profit. So bold and horizontal alignment. Just rewatch this video as and when you see for the formattings. We can do all formattings also later, but let's see how we have incorporated this so far. So I've created a very basic chart, which is very important for the management. I require a key performance indicator now. So what do you mean by key performance indicator? A key performance indicators are the key metrics which the organization sees apart from the charts and trends that they track. So that is important in order to have in order to understand a single value about a particular metric and also to track it on a daily basis. So what are going to be the key performance indicators? So if I am managing a superstore, then my first concern should be how much sales I have made over the years. So definitely total sales is going to be a KPI. Then not only sales, how much profit I have made over the years. And there can be other things, how many products that I've shipped. So three things that we are going to do. Number of products that I have ordered or number of orders that I have done so far, total sales and total profit. So these are very important for us, those stakeholders, and we will we'll be tracking this. So how to do that? So here I'm going to resize this a little bit. In fact, I'm going to make this other charts also small so that I have the space which is required to track it. We can arrange for the placements like as and when, wherever you want to take. We can keep it anywhere that we want. We'll see as and when we will format this part. For now, let me keep it like this. Okay. So there is an option of KPI card. So I have this KPI card new and old. Let me put the KPI card, which is the new one. So I'm going to just insert the card. Just select on the white option first, otherwise this table got replaced. You have this KPI card, and this KPI card has come over here. So the data that I need is simply sales. So if I click on the sum of sales, I will automatically get this value, which is the total sales, which is 12.46 million. So this is my first KPI card, which I'm going to use, and I'm going to keep it at the top. So I'm going to put this at the bottom. Let me rearrange this properly. So this is how you format a chart. You can see that formatting of a chart is a very easy affair in Power BI. I can simply resize this, and as per my convenience, I can do. So here I've got the KPI card for 12.64. Now this does not look very good. So I will reformat this part. So where is the size? So I will go to the callout values and I will reduce this size further. So I'm going to keep it as 25. 25 looks too small, probably 30. So 30 looks better over here. And I'm going to make it bold. And I'm going to make it center. So I got my first KPI, which is built over here. I can do some other things as well in this KPI. So what I can do is I can go to the size and style and I can enable the visual borders so that I can make this a little bit round. So I'm giving it 25 pixels and it has gone round. Maybe 20 pixels would do good. And I can enable a shadow, which is present over there. So I have enabled both the virtual borders over there. I don't require the physical border which is present inside. And let me just resize it. It's just not look proper. Now, this is optional that the border which is inside over here, since it's a new KPI card, they have made some new changes over here. So if I go over to the borders, then I will be able to change this. So there's an option of cards at the bottom and you can basically disable the borders over here. In your old KPI card, there will be this format settings will be different. In your new KPI card, this is different. So if I disable this, I think this looks much better in my opinion. So I have disabled that and I got my first KPI card over here. Okay. So I've created my first KPI card. All right. Now I can simply copy paste this data. Before I do that, let me complete any remaining part which is there, probably which is related to the call out values and titles. So basically I can double click on this part and you can directly go to the format. So I can go for the call out values and I can format the labels. So labels, how I can format is either I can have the sum of sales over here. I can put above value or below value. So probably below value would look good, maybe. I think this looks better. And this is where we have done this properly. So sum of sales, I don't want this to sound like that. So what I will do is I'm going to right click on this and rename for this visual. So I'm going to rename this as total sales. There are many ways to show the KPI ka automatic, the appropriate title for KPI. But for now, we will do this. So this is my total sales. I'm going to make this bold. And probably I'm going to increase this size to 15. So once all these settings are applied, I can now create another KPI card with the same settings. So here I'm going to copy, Control C and Control V. So Control C and Control V. So here I can click on profit. So I don't want total sales. Search for profit and sum of profit you have got. Again, I'm going to rename, right click on this. I'm going to rename this visual as total profit. Remember that this is total profit for all the years. So I got total sales and total profit. I need one more KPI card, which is basically the number of orders. So I'm going to reshuffle this visual. We'll deal with this, like how to do this. For now, just create a visual and then we'll resize it accordingly. So now I'm going to have the number of order IDs. So assuming that repeat order IDs are also accepted, I'm going to close this one and then I'm going to do this. So I got this first order ID. I have to change this aggregation basically to count. So I'm going to change that to count. And you got the, it's not a distinct count basically. This is basically your total number of orders. Repeated orders are also counted. So I can simply rename as usual the same thing, which is going to be total order IDs. So I got this aspect as well. So my three KPI cards are fixed. I got my title. And now I can build on the visuals. Basically, it is just for formatting the data properly. So here I'm going to click. Okay. So now how I'm going to format this data is a matter of resizing everywhere about how to do this. So I'm going to place this part. Basically, I can increase this chart size over here. I can place these two charts. I can put this format, this country-wise sales over here. And this bar chart, this pie chart over here. Okay. And now I have this country-wise sales. I have this number of products which are shipped and basically the region-wise sales which are present. Now this chart still does not look very proper. Let's try to see what else we can do to improve this chart. So the first thing that I can do is I can put some borders onto the charts. So here I will go to size and chart, size and style. and I can enable the borders. So again, the visual border enabled. So you can see the borders which are enabled, and you can probably give little bit of rounding the corners. It's pretty optional though. And similarly, when I click on this option as well, visual border, keep it consistent across everything. So again, region, visual border, and sorry, the region wise sales, and this one. Another important aspect, I don't want the titles to be the same. This is not correct. So I'm going to rename the title, which is essentially a sales trend. It's a simple sales trend that I want to find, and I have completed this. All right. Again, with respect to the chart, I can just realign this chart over here. I can probably put the chart over here like this and give it a gap over here. Okay. Probably I can reduce this chart size so it does not look very big over here. All right. And we can put this chart over here. I can put this chart over here. So these are the challenges that you will also get as you make a visualization, and you will get with practice as to which is appropriate and which is good. Even today, when I format a visual, I'm always not satisfied with the way uh, the visual gets panned out. But aesthetics parts aside, more important aspect as a data analyst is that you make these reports proper. You make these reports proper and working. Okay. Now, one more important aspect that I want to put is I want to put a slicer now. A slicer is nothing but a filter which basically puts onto the entire data set. So now I want to put a slicer, which is, let's say I want to see by which country, by for each country, how much is the sales. Because let's say I am the global head and I want to see which country is performing what. So for that, I would require a slicer. And I would be using that slicer to slice the data or filter the data by country wise. So I have this slicer, which is over here, and I can search for countries. So the moment I search for country, I enable the slicer, I automatically got over here. Now there are a lot of interesting things that you can do while formatting the slicer. So let's go to the format slicer to understand how this works. So go to the slicer settings, and you can see over here that by default, it is a vertical list. And you can change it to a tile or a drop down. Now, since there are many values over here, I would usually prefer a drop down. It's a nice, neat filter which has come, and I can neatly put it over here so that I can filter all the data that is required. All right. So I have almost reformatted everything over here. I think I've created all the basic charts. The one more aspect maybe I can cover is probably this width. I have this extra space over here, and I can probably resize this. So basically under canvas settings, whenever you go, you can select a custom size. So here I can probably reduce it to probably 1,000 or maybe 1,100. So the basically why I did was because there was an extra white space which was coming, and I thought this is much better to present a report. So I have got my report, which is over here, and we can probably resize this aspect as well. So I will go to the text over here, and let's see if I can format some aspect. of the text box. The width is 1269. So I don't require that. 1100 would be better. So 1190, it has resized itself with all the padding which is present. And that is how you can reformat the data. So formatting is something you can practice. So that concludes our session for the basics of Power BI. And we will continue with more details of this tool probably in the next videos in the series. So stay tuned. This is Tara Subramaniam. I'm signing off. Thank you so much.